Hello and welcome back to another season of DXB podcasting with Nye, Chris, and Ollie. Good to be back, guys.
Yeah,
How was everyone's summer?
it wasn't too
Good.
bad.
Busy.
Was
Yeah,
wasn't as busy as yours, Ollie.
yeah, it was
What have you
quite
been
busy.
What have you been up to this summer, Ollie?
Oh, mate. Yeah, I got married over summer, um, and you two lovely, lovely gentlemen were there as well. And then I jetted off on holiday for a little bit, and bit of a rude awakening coming back to work. But yeah, it was good summer all in all.
Yeah,
Missed the rugby though.
yeah, just me and
Um,
Chris just trying to like develop our own business and push it out to everybody. But it's yeah, it's lovely to see that you've cracked on, had a lovely summer, Ollie. Chris has been busy away.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was a good
it's been
time. It
good.
was a good time to leave in hindsight.
Grew a
Yeah.
beard, more hair on my face, less on my head. Just getting ready to
I
build
feel
get this thing launched. It's all ready to go now though. So
get
now we
this
just gotta
launched.
actually hope
It's
it
been
works.
it's been launched. Ah!
Yeah,
So, in case you missed the big news of the summer, Dream 15 Rugby is live. Our fancy rugby game that two people came up with 18 months ago in a beer garden, and I've worked tirelessly since. It's out there. You can literally click on the link, which will be below, and you can go across and look at our fabulous new website that we're incredibly proud of. And you can start playing some fancy rugby. Let's go. I'm excited. You two don't look that excited.
I am
Smile. Come
tired,
on.
mate. Like it's been a long slog. So yeah, no, it's been good though. We got it all done, built up. Um, People starting to jump on there and play as well, which is nice. It'll go live and scores and all that kind of jazz. I say it's live now, but like the first game when the first game kicks off, you'll actually be able to get your scores. Been pushing it on the social media and trying to get clubs signed up because one of the things now you guys, all of you guys know, like we're trying to talk. One of the things we're really keen on is that the clubs actually are involved, the grassroots clubs. And I know you're a big champion of this because I think you've played about 17 games in the last 2 weeks. So actually being able to get them engaged, that's been a big piece. Chatting to them, getting around the country, seeing the clubs, speaking to them, and getting them on the site and kind of getting that loaded up has been fun actually and enlightening. There's so much variety in the actual clubs that you go out and see, like so many differences
I,
and
I love it. It's why I'm sort of connected to so many different charity teams and so many different rugby teams. The social aspect to me, and just sort of similar games, similar styles, similar forfeits, similar club sort of that club culture that bounces around. Yeah, that's why I'm still sort of out playing when I probably shouldn't be retiring now. But yeah, still out playing, still cutting around. And yeah, like you said, it's really good to get out there, chat to clubs, sort of introduce ourselves, tell them what we're trying to do, and sort of how we're trying to do it. So it's been really nice to see some of the clubs sort of come in and add some engagement into it, and using the game for what we want it to be used for, is to like people that have recruited, teams that have recruited over the summer that are trying to keep those sort of players involved, people that are trying to keep it in. So it's not just about sort of the cash prizes and not just about the prize of the stash that the clubs can win. It's how they're using it to sort of try and attract and keep them players in a different way to engage with their fan base. So it's been nice to sort of explain that to them and almost sort of explain all the good things that come from sort of playing fancy rugby.
yeah, 100%. And it's been, like I say, that's been a lot of fun. And there's so much I think we can do with fantasy that it can do for the actual game. Because we talked this way back. We spoke to the Telegraph about it. Charlie, like what
Oh,
fantasy actually
name drop
can
Charlie
do.
Morgan. Name drop. Name drop.
We and we're talking about like it's really useful for building depth in your fan base. It's another way to engage with what is the professional game and link the professional game to those of us who don't have a hope in hell of ever running out in front of that many people, but are still really keen in the game and kind of want to be involved. So I think it brings a lot to it, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I was watching a podcast earlier about kind of it was on the Full Level Rugby podcast where they brought Squidge on. They were talking about how you could incorporate stats and what players have done and all of that kind of stuff. Like, like the NFL does, where they start
Yeah.
I mean, they start talking about like the speed they run at, like down to nitty gritty, and people love that stuff. Like I love that stuff where it's like, okay, exactly how many tackles that person made, and it really enlightens what's happening, as opposed to, because rugby can be a really complex game when you can actually explain through like, this is what they're trying to achieve and this is how well they're doing at it. I think it helps to illuminate that, and I think that's one of the things the site does really well. I'm really quite proud of kind of the data we have, the pricing that we use. So I saw something today where someone had posted out, and I commented on their X, where they're talking about their kind of top 50 players in the Prem, and I was like, you know what would be really useful for that, mate? Like our pricing mechanism, which is based off of an objective measure of how good that player was over the last 18 months, and how accurate and kind of related directly to their performance it is. So I was really I'm happy with that. I think it looks sharp. We're just finishing off the images bits now as well. So I think that'll add a lot to the game. It won't be pictures of for those who hoping, but it's a bit of artwork, which I think is quite good.
And it's kind of like recognizing that it is just two rugby fans that have tried to do something out there, and I'm hoping that sort of the rugby community do look at it. I mean, we've got so many. What was really hard for us is that we've got so many ideas that we wanted to get out, but that just aren't sort of feasible. So yeah, lots more to come. But yeah, proud of what we did. The data bit you mentioned there about sort of NFL, and obviously sort of re-Zammit going across, and suddenly kind of we're slightly more interested in the sort of American version of sports and dipping into NFL. But that's come across in. Did you guys see the media? I think it was the Bears. So they not only like last season did the sort of fans describing the logos of the other clubs, but have you seen what they've done recently, getting the players to sign autographs of like pictures of them when they were like 13 and stuff?
Yeah.
So it started again with like it's like an American, like you follow them on social media. They go around to like golf pros, NFLs. They find kind of videos off their like they were like 13 or something, and then like randomly surprise them at like the side of a pitch and be like, oh, can I get your autograph? And there's a picture of them, like really embarrassing picture of when they were 12, 13. But I think the sort of Bears did it recently. So quite a lot of the media fan engagement stuff that are coming over from the sort of States, like we're starting to use now. You can see the club's media team sort of copying that over.
They do it really well. Like the Americans, I mean, in fairness, like they are mental for it. So when I lived over in the States, like you'd get crowds that like the Prem would be envious of for like high school games. And when you've got like college stadiums of football that are like 80,000 to 100,000 seater stadiums, like, and they fill those things fairly regularly. Like it is pretty crazy. I don't know if it'll ever get to that kind of level, but if you can move a little bit closer and engage with the actual fan base and get them closer to the game,
that's how it starts, mate. You know? And that's what's quite exciting about this, I think, is that it's bringing the fans together on a platform which, you know, brings the clubs and fans like pretty close, you know, and you know, equally the fans have another outlet to support, you know, the clubs in the fiscal prize at the end of the season and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah,
what you're saying is we're ahead of our time, Ollie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we are.
Yeah.
So what I think would be useful, boys, is if we talk through some of the key things, like the little hidden gems that we can find in the game for people who are listening. So if for whatever reason you're listening and you don't know much about fantasy rugby, then basic premise, you pick 15 players from across all the Premiership teams. We haven't put any kind of team limits on it. There's a salary cap. So you have a budget with which to spend, and each player has a price attached to them. And that price is dictated by, it comes from Oval, and it's based around a model that they use, which is basically it comes for 18 months worth of data of what that player has done, well, up to 18 months, because obviously some of them have played for 18 months. It counts for 18 months worth of their kind of actions, and every action they take on the pitch it takes account of. So good, bad, agnostic, and it kind of rates them. So it'll either be like positive or negative, and then it weights the importance of that action against the outcome and the importance it had in the game, right? So someone knocks on and they win the subsequent scrum, really small negative, no big drama. someone knocks on, other team regathers, runs the length of the pitch, scores a try, and they lose the game, gets a really big negative against their score, right? So what you'll see over the season is people's prices will fluctuate depending on how well they've played, which is, I think, a really interesting model, and it makes it, if you want a top tier kind of player, and some of them aren't the people you would expect, right? Some of them are, and I'll put out a post later this week that talks about who are kind of our most expensive players in the game. And generally that will mean that player has had a more positive impact on the game, and that should relate to kind of fantasy scores. But there is a little trick to this, and we did it in the Fantasy Rugby Geek. It won't necessarily be the big names that you think. So keep an eye out, and there's some really like hidden gems in there. So I put out a post just recently, so check us out on X or on Instagram, where I put out all of the kind of the say value picks within the Prem, or some of the value picks are there. And one of the things it does is if you haven't played 4 games yet, it won't actually give you kind of your model properly. So your price will be quite undervalued against what you potentially could be. So, for example, Finn Carnduff, former England under-20 captain, won the World Championships with the under-20s, won the Six Nations with the under-20s. I think I saw an article in the Telegraph about him that said he's basically a Rolls-Royce of a player. He comes in at 75. But once you get to kind of 4 games or that match kind of threshold, that score will grow. So like Tom Curry, I think, is at 70, in the high 70s, because he is because he didn't play all last season because he was injured, right? So that's impacted his actual ability to be scored. So those kind of things are going to climb as time goes on, which means you'll get some opportunities in there to get, particularly early on, some real gems like Naya Salebu, Thomas Williams, Christian Wade, all of this who are coming into the Prem. New, their scores will be suppressed initially. So if you are going to sign up, basically now is a good time to do it, because you'll find there's a lot of people you can get in your team early doors that you might not be able to later. So yeah, that's the premise. Sorry. So does that explain it thoroughly, guys? Like in terms of what we're talking about. So
I was just about to say, for those of you that are new to the podcast, you know which one of us likes detail. That'd be Chris. I would have summarised it in: you pick a team before a weekend, and then you get points given to how well your team of players do. So I'd summarise it that way, but obviously Chris summarises it in a different way.
Watch Nye just fall to the bottom of the rankings throughout the season.
Yeah, don't follow Nye.
That is one of the scariest things.
He goes purely on feel.
But then this is a good thing about fantasy, because you will have. So I think Chris has already mentioned him. The Fantasy Rugby Geek has been really sort of helped us throughout this. He is the fountain of knowledge, and we'll pick teams based on so much sort of data, statistics, very much like Chris loves the detail. Well, I'll pick absolutely based on who I think will.
I like his name.
Yeah, who I think will actually have a good game. Sometimes that can come off. I'd like to say, like, last year I didn't do too bad. But it's the best thing about fantasy is that you actually have a metric to walk into your rugby club. Sort of walking like Conor McGregor on a sort of Tuesday to training because you're top of the league, and now suddenly when you're in the clubhouse and everyone's arguing about, oh my God, why has he picked him, or why is someone so starting, or why is that guy off there? Suddenly you've got a bit more weight to your argument because you're top of your league and somebody else is bottom, and what do they know about rugby? So that's why I like it, and that's why I'm here. So it's good.
So you pick your players. Some of the things you've changed around a little bit, so you'll get more information on the players, and there's no kind of, you have to pay to kind of take part, and that is in part because of the prizes. So we give away £500 a round and 2,500 at the end of the season, and that's every round. So you'll get so that's 12,500 over the course of a season. But you'll get within that all the stats of every action that player's taken during the game by our scoring stats, and it gives you a really good kind of indication on the front of like what their strengths are. So around carrying, if it's scrummaging for props, line outs for second row, etc., and where their kind of strengths are. So it gives you a lot of that information. So you pick your team, and then those score once the game starts, the game will lock before the game kicks off. So for the first game of the weekend, so you won't be able to select your team after the first game kicks off. So make sure this weekend before 19:45 on Friday, you've got your team in. Then the scores will start to rack up in real time. So as the game goes on, you'll be able to see kind of how your team's actually getting on, and it is quite quick. When we tested it because we tested it for the Prem final and the semi-final.
Beta test, yeah.
And they're coming quite quickly. I was actually surprised with how well that performed.
Group chat gets lit pretty quickly. Sort of like 10-15 minutes in, especially by the time the first try scorer sort of pops up. Suddenly the group chat start getting a little bit lit. Screenshots. One of the good things about our app is that you're able to share your team because it gets locked on that sort of first game. Created a really easy button, just click share my screen. It lets you download like a picture of your team, so you're able to share and sort of send it off. I genuinely can't wait for that first game and to watch the website do its thing. It's like having a child and like watching it ride a bike for the first time. Off you go into the wild. I'm looking forward to it.
Also, don't follow Nye for parenting advice.
There's things to follow me for. Yeah, fancy rugby and raising children is not one of them.
And then so I think one of the cool things that we mentioned before. So as you register, you can attribute. So if you scored say 100 points, you can attribute those to a club that you support as well. But once you attribute it to a club, once the season starts, that's kind of your club for the season. And then all the clubs that are participating are competing to win £2,000 worth of stash, courtesy of Pronto Rugby as well. Good mates of Nye's, and they've very generously been agreed to kind of supply it, and it's kind of made to their branding. It's made for them. It's like things like hoodies, dry robes. You want kits. You want
kits to go on tour with. If you're going on tour, you've got a sevens tournament that you're going across, you need a set of kit, all of that. Again, you can head over to Pronto Teamwear, have a look at their site. They'll set you up a club shop as well if you're looking for sort of those smaller clubs that are looking to establish some stash online for their fans to fan-based supporters to go and buy from. They'll help you out with that. Like Chris was saying, the club league really is where we're sort of at and design this in mind to help them as much as possible. I think as a club, you'd be daft not to sign up. It costs the club absolutely nothing. So if you're a sort of small local grassroots rugby club, drop us a message. We'll stick you on our website. Any of your fans, supporters can sign up. It'll cost you nothing, and you just get you will take all the fancy points from everybody that signs up, plays, and they'll all get handed across to you into your club in our app.
Yeah, and then basically you do that every week. So you pick your. Excuse me.
This is a very professional podcast.
But you'll get a chance to do that every week. So there's no kind of seasonal element to it. Once you pick your team, you can change it next week, right? So the game closes on as the first game of the weekend kicks off, and then it reopens once the final game is finished. And we'll announce winners of cash on the Monday and stuff. So keep your eye out on the socials or in your email. Do check your emails because they sometimes find their way into junk. And you don't want to find out you've missed out on £500 because
it is worth mentioning sort of like the cash winning scoring matrix. If you head over to the site, there's lots more details on the site about it, but sort of everyone that's in it is in it to win it. So obviously the higher that you come in your rankings, the higher that your team's fancy points come in the ranking, the more chance you've got of winning that cash prize. But that doesn't necessarily guarantee the winner that cash prize. Lots more on there. So even just having a team, you're still in with a chance to win some prizes just by playing fancy rugby on our game. Head over now, dream15rugby.com. I shouldn't have had that kind of monster.
Yeah, I have seen you taking swigs of it throughout this. I was like, I'm just waiting for him to to
Bubble.
unleash the beast.
That's it.
Yeah, and where are we off to? We've got quite an exciting weekend coming up as well, guys, haven't we? Where are we off to?
Yeah, gonna go to Gloucester versus Saracens, which will be fun. I'm actually really looking forward to that. I haven't been to a game for quite a while. Last one we went to, Nia and me, was and you brought the boy as well, didn't you, to Northampton Harlequins at the
Twins.
big game.
Yeah, at the then Twickenham,
Yeah.
not now.
So yeah, we'll head over there. So if you're a Gloucester fan, you'll probably see us kicking about around Kingsholm. Might get there early, sit in a pub, watch the Leicester Chiefs game, see how they get on.
I will give one shout out to the Gloucester fans, because my wife's from that way. Just the ongoing chant of Gloucester. It's one of the things to behold. If you've never been to Kingsholm before, the Gloucester fans non-stop. I'm looking forward to going back there. It's been a few years.
I've never been to Kingsholm, but I've heard it's one of the best atmospheres in the Prem. Like, it's meant to be quite like adversarial as if you're an away team heading there, and like the fans are quite loud and vocal. So that should be fun.
It's one of those really good places that, like many rugby stadiums, are like having it literally in sort of like the middle centre of town. It's not sort of miles out the way that you're sort of struggling to get for. Plenty of pubs sort of like straight out the main street, straight into town. Plenty of it's a nice place, and the 4G pitch is a bit rough, but it's a really cracking stadium.
The other cool thing is, I think it's like Northampton in the sense of like it's the big team in that town is a rugby team. It's not, you know what I mean, like in London where you're competing with football for attention, you're competing with the, you know what I mean, like the Quins and the Saracens, you're competing for Arsenal, Chelsea, or whatever the London football teams are. Or Sale, where they're competing for Manchester fans. No, in Gloucester and Northampton, like it's rugby. Like that's the big team.
Got the cherry and whites.
Yeah, and that'll be cool. So I'm quite excited to go there. That'll be fun. So you might find us in the pubs before the game. Definitely in the stadium. I'll be wearing my hoodie, easily visible.
Just look for 3 bald men. I would say but that's not really narrowing it down at a rugby game, is it? Really?
Yeah, 3 bald men with a pint and a pie. Yeah,
it's every man there.
Narrows us down.
No, just look for the DXV hoodie. And,
I'm gonna be out there with a microphone doing some questions, speaking to some fans. So if you see us, head across, say hello. Get your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Should we do some predictions then? I think we've talked about the game. Yeah. Anyone got any other points they want to bring up in the game that we need to let people know about?
I don't think so.
Smash online.
Just play it.
It's a free weekend this weekend, so you've got nothing to lose.
It is a freebie, isn't it?
Free pass.
I hope it's pretty intuitive. I hope it's pretty easy to navigate. Like, and I haven't done the thing that I hate, where people just build it and it only makes sense to me.
No, jump on, and again, there's sort of as you look to the left, as you jump onto the site, there's plenty of things about. It's really easy to register. It's really intuitive. I click a position on a pitch, you get a list of names, click that person, put them into your team, and it's all there. All the information is on the site. Sort of head over, take a look, and enjoy. I look forward to seeing you all there. Look forward to seeing you all in game.
Very much so.
Yeah. And it's a big week. It's a big weekend in the Prem, obviously. Like a cracking first weekend for it. We've got Falcons, Bears, Bar Saints, Exeter.
That's a really good one. Replay the final.
That's a hell of an opener.
Naughty.
That would be massive. Gloucester Sarries, which obviously we're going to, and Sale Quins.
I'm really excited to get a look at some of the new faces that have come in. Like, you've got some fairly big name signings, like Lee Halfpennies for Quins. You've got Thomas Williams for Gloucester, Christian Wade for Gloucester. You've got Hossein Levu for Sale. I'm really quite excited to see.
I knew you were going to say that.
You've got 3 in the team. I mean, he's going to smash it up. But no, I'm genuinely quite excited to see how these people get on, like how these new players get on, and kind of how they fit in. Some of them are kind of on the. It's an interesting year for signings because some of them are on the kind of latter stages of their career, shall we say. But you see with like Courtney Laws, that doesn't mean it's going to be bad, right?
Yeah,
Like he had probably the best season of his career last season. And then he's torn it up in the first thing, and then you've got like Fergus Burke coming over from Saracens, promising young kid from Crusaders over in New Zealand. See how he gets on the Prem. Can he fill? There's so many storylines to actually keep an eye on. I'm happy it's back. My wife, however, is not happy it's back, because that means every weekend is now me sat on the couch watching rugby because it's for work. I have to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For anybody out there,
I see the stress in your face, mate.
Anyone that's out there is suddenly getting crap off their partner, wife, for spending your time, just start a business around rugby, and then like tax break, just write it off. I have to do it. It's for rugby. Right, Chris was banging on predictions. It's an interesting one, given that not one game has been played yet in the Premiership ahead of the weekend. So we're going big and bold, and we can revisit this.
We do top four rather than who wins it. Who do you think makes the top four?
No. I want straight out. I'll let you have a runner-up. To try and save some sort of shred of dignity at the end of the season. But yeah, I'm gonna ask it. Let's go to Chris. Come on. I want predictions, so I want the finalists. What two teams are in that final and who's winning it?
I think Bath go there again.
Okay.
Definitely.
Nice. Led by Russell, yeah.
I think Sale go in the final as well.
For those of you that are new to the podcast, Chris is a Sale fan.
But actually, outside chance, I think Gloucester came in 9th last season. I actually think they might have a little run this season. You've got Gareth Anscombe in there, Christian Wade, Thomas Williams. That's some pretty, like, a whole new 9-10 combo changes quite a lot in your team. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you've signed like a random lock and it's just like that's a pretty big shift. So we'll see how they can get on with that. I think they might be within like, not necessarily to be in the final, but like they will surprise some people this season, I think.
I'm going to go big after Chris then, before Ollie steals my limelight. So my predictions, this year's winner, I'm going to give it to Quins. I think we saw a Quins last year with some sort of, I say like younger players, I say not inexperienced, but players like Marcus Smith, stuff like that. I think we're expecting like a massive year. They've obviously, someone's going to mention them bringing a bunch of Welsh boys in, but yeah, they have, which makes no difference. I still think they would have done well. And if I want like the Saints, I sat there and think they had an incredible year sort of last year. I know they've swapped around, but they had so much sort of youth in there last year and sort of breakout players that it'd be really interesting to see them sort of solidify this year. And I still think they've got the quality across the park, to pull it together and have another storming year. So there's my prediction.
They definitely do. I'm just wondering.
And you guys save the best for last. Obviously not. I'm gonna go for Bristol to win it.
You think?
Yeah. Bears.
I'm gonna say Bears, but I think final. I think will be. I'm gonna go with Chris. I think it will be Bath, who's the other contender in the final. So it would be quite a nice like little matchup, geographical matchup there. But
little West Country.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Bears.
You guys are crazy. You guys are just.
Yeah, you say that, Chris, but we're also making predictions before even one game has been played. So this is going to go. I mean, if Ollie would have picked Falcons, then I would have gone, he's crazy. Like, I think outside chance, maybe the Falcons. Yeah,
that's a good point. What do you guys reckon to relegation coming back? So you can now have it where so they've basically, you can get relegated. You just have this. It has to be the club that's won the championship has to have had at least 5,000 seat stadium in order to be able to be promoted. And then with a plan to get to 10,000 seats, and then whoever comes bottom of the Prem plays top of the championship in a home and away derby, or a home and away game. Sorry, so like the chance that the likes of like Ealing Trailfinders, Doncaster from the championship could find their way in the top, and into the Prem. That could be interesting.
I'll buy on. There's been some interviews, and again, sort of, diamond up at the Falcons and what they've said. I think they brought it in as a sort of, we've sort of bringing back relegation, but I genuinely think that even sort of the poorest team across the Premiership on their good day, and that somebody that happens to have the stadium in this, and then that happens to do this, and then they've sort of brought it back, but they haven't brought it back as what sort of most people recognise it as. They've caveated it, I think, almost too heavily, that even if it is sort of, I think it is quite unlikely. It's unlikely that it's going to sort of be in that position, and I don't want to say that they've sort of like money and sort of priced out a team that doesn't have the stadium. I mean, it's not the sort of that they haven't got the fan base, but having a stadium that is like that size, that's not a quick fix. That's not something that sort of a club can turn around in a year and go like, oh, actually, we'll push for it this year. We'll just add 5,000 seats to our current state. I think they've stipulated it to the point that it's a thin chance. They've brought it back, I think, to almost stop people talking about it. But what's the likelihood of somebody actually getting relegated and somebody actually coming up that meets all those caveats?
And you have to lose home and away as a Prem team against the Championship team, which, I mean, like, they lose in pre-season all the time, but like if you field a full strength Prem side with something on the line against the Championship team, I don't know if you're going to get a home and away is a big ask. A home and away win for most people, like most clubs playing each other in the Prem, right? Like even Bath struggled at home when they were away. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if it's like I said, I don't know how realistic a prospect it is.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Anyway, that was a really roundabout way of saying sign up to Dream 15 Rugby, get playing some fantasy rugby. It's good fun. You'll enjoy it. We'll enjoy having you there. If you got any questions, you can either message us on wherever you're watching this. We're pretty quick at responding generally. And we hope to see you there.
Yeah, loving life. And obviously the podcast will continue. This is episode 1 of season 2. For those of you who can go back and watch us, and we talk through sort of our processes and last season and why we started the sort of app and how we built it all. So they're all still online, available for you to go and sort of watch back. We'll continue this and they'll come out sort of midweek. And obviously, as we go through, there'll be lots more detail that we'll release, sort of stats that we've looked at through our games through the week, sort of pushing our winners out, pushing our surprises. Look forward to week on week us trying to select a Dream 15 between us. Sometimes it's hard enough to pick one yourself, but between 3 people, it's going to be pretty difficult. But like Chris said, head over to the site. There's lots more that we're trying to do regards to sort of giving back to rugby charities and sort of our profits that we make going across to them. Lots more ways on there that you can sort of benefit your local grassroots club, as well as having fun setting up your own leagues. Go in and chatting with your mates about who knows best about rugby. I mean, all's there to win, I think.
Yeah, you didn't mention social media. Do you want to mention social media?
we could mention social media.
Yeah,
I think we've mentioned it a few times, but you can absolutely find if you find anything funny on TikTok, I put it on there. If you find anything unfunny on TikTok, the other boys have put it on there. But please add us on TikTok for some funny stuff, but it will get more rugby and fancy rugby related. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and on X, for those of you that are old, Twitter, and we'll be pushing stuff out throughout the week. And as soon as we start sort of getting this player data, getting all the statistics that are available to you on our site, we'll start pushing it out. You'll be able to see who sort of meters made, top point scorers, etc., all the way through the week. So if you're interested in sort of statistics, rugby player analysis, give us a follow on any of those platforms, and look forward to your comments during the season.
Yeah. Cheers, guys, and catch you next week.